Hey guys, tonight we're stepping back in time, not to the grand adventures of knights or the romantic tales of princesses, but to a role far more precarious, more soul-crushing than you might ever imagine. We're going to explore the truly miserable existence of a court jester. Forget the whimsical image of a jolly fool in colorful motley. This was a life of constant performance, subtle danger, and profound loneliness. Imagine being forced to be funny on demand, your very survival hinging on your ability to make a capricious monarch crack a smile. You probably wouldn't last a week in that kind of pressure cooker, let alone a lifetime. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know where you're listening from tonight and what time it is for you. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You find yourself in a squalid corner of a bustling medieval town, perhaps barely scraping by as a street performer, a quick-witted peasant, or even someone born with a physical deformity that made you an object of both pity and cruel amusement. Life has been hard, filled with hunger and uncertainty. Then, one day, an unexpected summons arrives. A lord, a duke, or even a king has heard whispers of your unusual talents, your sharp wit, your knack for mimicry, your ability to make people laugh, or perhaps simply your unique physical appearance. This is the moment you are plucked from obscurity, an unlikely calling that promises an end to starvation, but ushers you into a new kind of servitude, the life of a court jester. This isn't a job you apply for, it's a destiny imposed upon you. You are given no choice. Refusal could mean imprisonment, or worse, acceptance, though terrifying, offers a glimmer of hope, regular meals, a roof over your head, and a strange, perhaps unsettling, proximity to power. You might be told that you are chosen, that your wit is a divine gift meant to bring joy to the highest echelons of society. But beneath these grand pronouncements lies the stark reality you are now property, an entertainer on demand, your freedom curtailed in ways you can barely comprehend. Your initial days in the castle are a dizzying blur of new sights and sounds. The immense stone walls, the bustling courtyards filled with knights and ladies, the opulent great hall where feasts are held. But amidst the grandeur, you feel acutely out of place. You are not a knight, nor a noble, nor even a trusted servant. You are an oddity, a curiosity, a living amusement. The other servants might eye you with a mix of suspicion and a strange pity. The nobles might glance at you with thinly veiled contempt, seeing you as little more than a pet or a novelty. The expectation is immediate and immense. You're expected to be funny, on demand, all the time. Whether the king is in a foul mood, the queen is bored, or the court is simply looking for diversion, your wit must be ready, your jokes sharp, your antics amusing. This isn't just about telling jokes. It's about being an ever-present source of amusement, a living embodiment of levity in a world often steeped in gravity and rigid formality. The pressure is suffocating, a constant internal hum of, "Am I funny enough? Will they laugh?" A common historical fact is that court jesters often held a unique, privileged position, being able to speak truth to power in ways others couldn't. However, a lesser-known detail is that this privilege was a double-edged sword, always contingent on the monarch's mood and tolerance. One wrong joke, one ill-timed remark, could easily lead to severe punishment or even death. The line between witty insight and dangerous offense was razor-thin and constantly shifting. You learn very quickly that your cleverness is both your greatest asset and your greatest vulnerability. Your first attempts at humor might fall flat, met with stony silence or polite, forced titters. The cold dread that washes over you in those moments is immediate and visceral. You realize that your livelihood, your very life, depends on your ability to evoke genuine laughter. You quickly learn to read the room, to gauge the mood of the monarch, to understand the unspoken rules of court etiquette, rules that you, as the jester, are sometimes allowed to bend, but never truly break. Historians still debate whether the primary function of court jesters was genuinely to entertain and amuse, or if their more subtle role was to act as a release valve for courtly tensions, allowing for veiled criticism and a temporary subversion of rigid social hierarchies. It's a fascinating question about the true purpose of the fool. You might be given rudimentary living quarters, perhaps a small, cold room near the servants' quarters, a marked improvement from your previous life, but still a stark reminder of your low status. Your meals, while regular, might be scraps from the royal table, or served with the other common folk. You are dressed, perhaps, in the beginning, in simple clothes, not yet the iconic motley that will become your uniform. But even in these early days, the psychological burden of being perpetually on begins to settle in. Every interaction is a potential performance, every person a potential audience. This initial period is a harsh schooling. You are learning. Hey guys, tonight we're stepping back in time, not to the grand adventures of knights or the romantic tales of princesses, but to a role far more precarious, more soul-crushing than you might ever imagine. We're going to explore the truly miserable existence of a court jester. Forget the whimsical image of a jolly fool in colorful motley. This was a life of constant performance, subtle danger, and profound loneliness. Imagine being forced to be funny on demand, your very survival hinging on your ability to make a capricious monarch crack a smile. You probably wouldn't last a week in that kind of pressure cooker, let alone a lifetime. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know where you're listening from tonight and what time it is for you. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You find yourself in a squalid corner of a bustling medieval town, perhaps barely scraping by as a street performer, a quick-witted peasant, or even someone born with a physical deformity that made you an object of both pity and cruel amusement. Life has been hard, filled with hunger and uncertainty. Then, one day, an unexpected summons arrives. A lord, a duke, or even a king has heard whispers of your unusual talents, your sharp wit, your knack for mimicry, your ability to make people laugh, or perhaps simply your unique physical appearance. This is the moment you are plucked from obscurity, an unlikely calling that promises an end to starvation, but ushers you into a new kind of servitude, the life of a court jester. This isn't a job you apply for, it's a destiny imposed upon you. You are given no choice. Refusal could mean imprisonment, or worse, acceptance, though terrifying, offers a glimmer of hope, regular meals, a roof over your head, and a strange, perhaps unsettling proximity to power. You might be told that you are chosen, that your wit is a divine gift meant to bring joy to the highest echelons of society. But beneath these grand pronouncements lies the stark reality: you are now property, an entertainer on demand, your freedom curtailed in ways you can barely comprehend. Your initial days in the castle are a dizzying blur of new sights and sounds. The immense stone walls, the bustling courtyards filled with knights and ladies, the opulent great hall where feasts are held. But amidst the grandeur that you feel acutely out of place. You are not a knight, nor a noble, nor even a trusted servant. You are an oddity, a curiosity, a living amusement. The other servants might eye you with a mix of suspicion and a strange pity. The nobles might glance at you with thinly veiled contempt, seeing you as little more than a pet or a novelty. The expectation is immediate and immense. You are expected to be funny, on demand, all the time. Whether the king is in a foul mood, the queen is bored, or the court is simply looking for diversion. Your wit must be ready, your jokes sharp, your antics amusing. This isn't just about telling jokes. It's about being an ever-present source of amusement, a living embodiment of levity in a world often steeped in gravity and rigid formality. The pressure is suffocating, a constant internal hum of, "Am I funny enough? Will they laugh?" A common historical fact is that court jesters often held a unique, privileged position, being able to speak truth to power in ways others couldn't. However, a lesser-known detail is that this privilege was a double-edged sword, always contingent on the monarch's mood and tolerance. One wrong joke, one ill-timed remark, could easily lead to severe punishment or even death. The line between witty insight and dangerous offense was razor-thin and constantly shifting. You learn very quickly that your cleverness is both your greatest asset and your greatest vulnerability. Historians still debate whether the primary function of court jesters was genuinely to entertain and amuse, or if their more subtle role was to act as a release valve for courtly tensions, allowing for veiled criticism and a temporary subversion of rigid social hierarchies. It's a fascinating question about the true purpose of the fool. You might be given rudimentary living quarters, perhaps a small, cold room near the servants' quarters, A marked improvement from your previous life, but still a stark reminder of your low status. Your meals, while regular, might be scraps from the royal table, or served with the other common folk. You are dressed, perhaps in the beginning, in simple clothes, not yet the iconic motley that will become your uniform. But even in these early days, the psychological burden of being perpetually on begins to settle in. Every interaction is a potential performance, every person a potential audience. This initial period is a harsh schooling. You are learning to survive by your wits, by your ability to gauge the subtle currents of power and mood that flow through the castle. You are learning that laughter is not just a sound, it is a shield, a weapon, and sometimes a terrifying demand. Your existence, now intertwined with the whims of royalty, has become a life of forced jocularity, where every smile hides a flicker of fear. You've been plucked from the relative anonymity of your former life and thrust into the glaring spotlight of the royal court. The initial shock of this new existence is slowly giving way to a chilling reality. Your new uniform, the jester's garb, is not just clothing. It's a costume that defines your every waking moment, forcing you into a life of precarious performance, where your very identity is consumed by the role of the fool. Imagine the costume itself, the bright, clashing colors of the motley, often red and yellow or blue and green, stitched together in an exaggerated patchwork style. The long, pointed cap with its jingling bells at the tips, each tiny chime a constant reminder of your designated role. Perhaps oversized shoes, or a padded suit designed to make you appear more absurd. This isn't fashionable attire, it's a deliberate exaggeration, a uniform that immediately sets you apart, marking you as a figure of amusement, a walking, talking caricature. When you don this outfit, you shed any semblance of your former self and become the king's fool. The bells, in particular, are a constant auditory presence. Every movement, every twitch of your head, every gesture is accompanied by their cheerful jingle. It's a sound that announces your arrival, demands attention, and ensures that you are never truly silent, never truly unnoticed. Imagine trying to have a private thought, a moment of introspection, when every shift of your body creates a small, insistent jingle. It's a constant, subtle psychological pressure forcing you into a state of perpetual performance. Your props are simple but essential. The marat, a mock scepter topped with a carved head that often mimics your own, or a small, satirical face. This is your tool, a visual gag, and sometimes a means to subtly express what others cannot. You might also carry a bauble or a bladder on a stick, something to thump and swat, creating immediate, harmless sound and spectacle. These are extensions of your performative self, objects that amplify your foolish persona. This is a life lived in public. You are expected to be present at feasts, at court gatherings, during royal audiences, and often even during private moments when the monarch desires diversion. You are never truly off duty. The expectation to be on at all times is relentless. A moment of silence, a lapse in your jocularity, could be interpreted as sullenness, disrespect, or even a lack of loyalty. The pressure to always have a quick wit, a clever retort, or a new trick up your sleeve is immense. A common historical fact is that jesters were permitted to speak freely, even to mock royalty in ways no one else dared. However, a lesser-known detail is that this freedom was incredibly fragile and often came with unwritten rules. Your jokes had to be sharp enough to be amusing, but not so cutting as to truly offend or undermine. You could mock the king's advisors, perhaps even the queen's fashion choices, but direct, unmitigated insult to the monarch himself was a gamble that could cost you dearly. You had to learn the precise boundaries of this fool's privilege through trial and terrifying error. Imagine the internal struggle. You are a living paradox. You are the embodiment of folly, yet you must be acutely intelligent to navigate the treacherous currents of court life. You must be witty, but not arrogant, observant, but not nosy, loyal, but capable of subtle, sometimes dangerous, satire. Your brain is constantly working, analyzing the mood of the room, gauging reactions, and composing jokes or clever remarks on the fly. This mental exertion, combined with the constant fear of failure, is exhausting. Historians still debate whether the jester's motley and tools were primarily symbolic of their outsider, fool-like status, or if they also served a practical purpose in creating a clear visual and auditory distinction that allowed them to perform their unique, subversive role without direct consequence. It's a fascinating question about the intersection of costume, performance, and social function. Your daily existence is dictated by the whims of the court. You eat when they eat, sleep when they sleep, or rather, when they allow you to sleep, and travel with them. Enduring the same arduous journeys, though perhaps with slightly more comfort than a common servant. Your personal life, if you even have one, is subsumed by your role. You are the jester, first and foremost, always. The performance never truly ends, even in the quiet moments. A noble might approach you in a hallway, expecting a quick witticism. A servant might look to you for a moment of levity amidst the drudgery. You are always under scrutiny, always expected to embody the role. This constant on-stage existence creates a profound sense of isolation. Who are you when you take off the motley? Do you even know anymore? The jester's garb becomes less a costume and more a second skin, a prison of forced jocularity. You are now fully immersed in your role, the bells on your cap a constant jingle accompanying your every move. You've mastered the art of wearing the motley, but now comes the true challenge surviving the capricious nature of the court. Where laughter is a weapon and humor a minefield, you are constantly performing for the royal court's cold laughter, navigating a world where the line between amusement and offense is terrifyingly thin. Imagine standing in the vast, echoing great hall, the air thick with the scent of roasting meat, fine wine, and unspoken tensions. The king sits on his throne, perhaps bored, perhaps irritable, surrounded by his noble, stern knights, conniving ladies-in-waiting, ambitious courtiers. Their faces are a tableau of masks, hiding their true intentions. Your job is to break through this formality, to elicit genuine laughter, to momentarily distract them from their intrigues. But it's not an easy task. The laughter you seek is often cold, a polite titter from the bored, a condescending chuckle from the privileged, or a nervous giggle from those trying to curry favor. It's rarely the uninhibited, joyful sound of genuine amusement. You quickly learn that your audience isn't just seeking entertainment. They're looking for distraction, for validation, or sometimes for a target. And you, the jester, are the most convenient target of all. Your humor must be sharp, but never too sharp. You can mock the general follies of mankind, perhaps even the vanity of certain distant nobles. But direct criticism of the king or his most powerful favorites is an incredibly dangerous game. You become a master of veiled insults, of double entendres, of jokes that can be interpreted in multiple ways, giving you plausible deniability if offense is taken. This requires an acute understanding of court politics, of who is currently in favor and who is teetering on the edge of disgrace. One wrong word, and the cold laughter could turn into a chilling silence, followed by severe consequences. Think about the psychological toll of this constant performance. You must always be on, always ready with a quip, a song, a juggling trick, or a physical antic. There are no sick days for a jester, no moments to simply be yourself. Whether you are tired, sad, or ill, the expectation remains. You must project an image of boundless energy and ceaseless mirth, even when your inner world is anything but joyful. This emotional labor is relentless, a constant drain on your spirit. A common historical fact is that jesters often use their position to offer veiled critiques or uncomfortable truths to the monarch, acting as a kind of unofficial advisor. However, a lesser-known detail is that this truth-telling was almost always delivered in the guise of humor, ensuring that if the monarch reacted negatively, it could be dismissed as just a joke. This required an extraordinary level of wit and a deep understanding of human psychology, knowing just how far you could push without crossing the invisible line into dangerous territory. It was a perilous tightrope walk, often performed without a net. Your interactions with the nobles are particularly challenging. While they might laugh at your jokes, many of them view you as an inferior, a mere servant, despite your proximity to the king. You might face subtle slights, condescending remarks, or even outright bullying from arrogant courtiers who see you as beneath them. You learn to absorb these insults, to turn them into new material if possible, or simply to let them roll off you, maintaining your jovial facade. To show anger, frustration, or sadness would be to break character. to reveal the human beneath the fool, and that could be a fatal mistake. Historians still debate whether the jester's ability to speak truth to power was a genuine function of social commentary within the court, or if it was merely a controlled release valve, allowing the powerful to feel they were open to criticism without ever truly being challenged. This academic discussion touches on the complex dynamics of power, humor, and social control. You are always listening, always observing. Every conversation you overhear, every shift in a noble's expression, every nuance in the king's tone all become potential material for your next joke, or vital information to help you navigate the treacherous court. You learn to be an excellent mimic, capable of imitating voices and mannerisms, a dangerous skill if used unwisely. Your observations are keen, your memory sharp, as you constantly search for the absurdities and hypocrisies that are your comedic bread and butter. The fear of failure is a constant companion. What if the king doesn't laugh? What if your joke offends instead of amuses? What if you simply run out of material, out of wit, out of the energy to perform? The consequences could range from a public reprimand to being locked in the stocks, to a brutal flogging, or even worse, being cast out of the court entirely, forced back into the misery from which you came. This constant pressure fuels your performance, a desperate drive to secure that fleeting yet vital sound of royal amusement. You learn that laughter, in this environment, is rarely innocent. It's a tool, a judgment, a fleeting moment of respite for your royal audience, and for you, a precarious form of survival. The cold laughter of the court becomes the soundtrack of your miserable existence. The relentless pressure to entertain, the constant fear of the king's displeasure, and the chilling coldness of courtly laughter could easily break a lesser spirit. Yet, you persist. For beneath the absurd costume and the forced jocularity lies a sharp mind, an astute observer, and an individual desperately fighting for survival. This is the realm beyond the joking mask, where your hidden intellect and shrewd observation become your most powerful tools. Imagine the court as a complex, living organism. Every noble, every lady, every servant plays a role, driven by ambition, fear, or desire. As the jester, you are unique, you are both part of this organism and strangely separate from it. People often dismiss you, seeing only the fool, and in doing so, they let down their guard. This is your greatest advantage. While they whisper their secrets, engage in hushed intrigues, or subtly display their true characters, you are watching, listening, and absorbing. Your mind is a steel trap, storing every overheard conversation, every fleeting expression, every subtle shift in allegiance. You learn to read body language with astonishing accuracy, the nervous twitch of a hand, the fleeting glance between two seemingly unrelated courtiers, the sudden tightening of a jaw. These are the tells, the tiny cracks in the polished facades of the nobility, and you, the fool, are the only one truly paying attention. You see the true anxieties of the queen, the hidden desires of the heir, and the deep-seated resentments among the ministers. This isn't idle curiosity, it's a matter of survival. This hidden intelligence allows you to craft your jokes with surgical precision. You can deliver veiled criticisms that resonate with one faction while going over the heads of another. You can expose a hypocrisy through satire that makes the powerful squirm, yet cannot openly object because it was just a joke from the fool. You become a master of doublespeak, of delivering truths wrapped in layers of apparent nonsense. This intellectual acrobatics is far more demanding than any physical jest. A common historical fact is that jesters often provided a form of social commentary, or even served as conduits for gossip within the court. What's less commonly known is the incredible memory and improvisational skill required for this. You had to remember vast amounts of information, genealogies, past events, the current political climate, personal grudges, and then synthesize it on the fly to produce relevant, witty, and timely humor. It was mental jujitsu, performed under constant pressure, with your life as the stakes. You're basically a living, breathing, unscripted stand-up comedian with medieval consequences. Think about the sheer breadth of knowledge the jester might acquire. You'd know the king's favorite foods, his most private anxieties, his secret mistresses, and his true opinions on his advisors. You'd understand the feuds between noble families, the financial troubles of certain lords, and the whispered ambitions of various ladies. This intimate, unfiltered view of court life means you possess more raw, unfiltered intelligence than many of the formally educated scholars or even the high-ranking ministers. Historians still debate whether the jester's perceived foolishness was a natural disposition, an act of calculated performance, or a deliberate psychological strategy to gain access to information and influence in a court where direct power was denied to them. It's a fascinating question about the true nature of agency within such a constrained role. Your observations aren't limited to human behavior. You also learn the rhythms of the castle, the routines of the guards, the blind spots in the security. This seemingly trivial knowledge could become crucial during times of unrest or intrigue. You might notice an unusual messenger, a clandestine meeting, or a sudden change in someone's habits. These small details, when pieced together by your sharp mind, could reveal hidden plots or impending dangers. This intellectual depth, however, must remain largely hidden behind the mask of the fool. To appear too intelligent, too insightful, could be dangerous. A wise king might value it, but a paranoid one might see it as a threat. So, you learn to play dumb, to pretend your clever remarks are merely accidental utterances of a simple mind. It's a constant, exhausting act of self-effacement, where your true brilliance is carefully concealed beneath layers of silliness. You are the invisible ear, the unseen eye, the silent analyst of the court. While others see only the bells and the bright motley, you are gathering data, understanding motives, and discerning the intricate patterns of power. This hidden intellect is your true power, allowing you to survive, and perhaps even to subtly influence, the dangerous world beyond the joking mask. You've honed your wit, sharpened your observations, and learned to hide your true intelligence beneath the motley, but in the intricate, often cutthroat world of the royal court. Simply being amusing isn't enough. You are constantly surrounded by whispers and treachery, navigating a treacherous landscape where every word you utter and every word you overhear is weighed, scrutinized, and potentially weaponized. Imagine the palace corridors, dimly lit by torches, alive with hushed conversations and the soft rustle of expensive fabrics. As the jester, you are often overlooked, dismissed as harmless, and this allows you unparalleled access to the court's most guarded secrets. You are the silent observer in the antechamber, the seemingly oblivious entertainer during a private dinner, the playful fool who is present when important figures let down their guard. You hear plots against rivals, secret romantic assignations, and the true, often brutal opinions of nobles about each other, and, crucially, about the monarch. Your wit, while your greatest asset, is also a double-edged sword. When you deliver a clever jest that touches on a sensitive political issue, you are walking a tightrope. Did you accidentally reveal a secret? Did your joke inadvertently align you with one faction against another? You must constantly assess the reactions of your audience, not just their laughter, but the subtle tightening of a jaw, the quick, conspiratorial glance, the sudden shift in posture. These are the telltale signs of danger, signals that your words have hit too close to the mark, or that you've been perceived as a pawn in someone else's game. The court is a viper's nest of intrigue. Nobles vie for the king's favor, plotting against each other for land, power, and influence. They might use poison, blackmail, false accusations, or arranged marriages to achieve their aims. You, the jester, are uniquely positioned to witness these machinations. You might see a clandestine exchange of notes, overhear a disguised threat, or notice a sudden illness befall someone who was previously robust. Your sharp mind pieces together these fragments, forming a terrifyingly clear picture of the ongoing struggles. A common historical fact is that jesters often acted as informal spies for the monarch, gathering information that others might not openly share. However, a lesser-known detail is the immense personal risk involved in this. If your role as an informant was ever discovered, you would face the brutal wrath of those you exposed, often without the full protection of the king, who might deny any connection to save face. This means you must be incredibly discreet, a master of feigned ignorance, carefully choosing when and how to pass on information, always protecting your source yourself. Think about the mental strain of this existence. You are constantly filtering information, deciding what to remember, what to forget, what to report, and what to keep hidden. You live with the knowledge of dangerous secrets, yet you cannot show any sign of this burden. You must maintain your jovial, oblivious facade, even as your mind is churning with the implications of the treachery unfolding around you. It's like living in a constant state of high-stakes espionage, where your very life depends on your acting skills. Historians still debate whether jesters actively sought to involve themselves in court intrigue for personal gain or influence, or if their unique position simply made them unavoidable recipients of sensitive information, forcing them into a precarious role as silent observers and potential unwitting participants. This academic discussion highlights the difficult agency of jesters within a dangerous system. You might find yourself caught between powerful factions. A cunning duke might try to pump you for information, offering you bribes or subtle threats. A desperate lady might beg you to deliver a secret message. Refusal could make you an enemy. Compliance could make you a target. Your ability to navigate these requests, to play dumb or subtly deflect, is a skill honed by constant practice and an acute sense of self-preservation. It's a dance of diplomacy and deception, performed with a fool's cap on your head. Even your most innocent jokes can have unintended political consequences. A satirical comment about a foreign dignitary could inadvertently escalate tensions. A jest about a minister's alleged greed could fuel a rival's plot to overthrow him. You are acutely aware that your words, seemingly light and inconsequential, carry unexpected weight in the highly charged atmosphere of the court. You are a weapon that can be wielded, even accidentally, by the forces of intrigue. The constant presence of whispers and the pervasive threat of treachery mean that genuine trust is a luxury you cannot afford. You are alone in your observations, isolated by your unique role. Every smile you offer, every laugh you elicit, is a performance, a shield against a world that is always watching, always judging, and always ready to exploit your position for its own dangerous ends. Your misery is compounded by the knowledge that you are a knowing participant in a game where your life is always on the line. You've become a master of subtle observation, navigating the treacherous currents of court intrigue with your wit as your only shield. But all your cleverness, all your careful discretion, means little in the face of the ultimate arbiter of your fate, the monarch. Your very existence, your daily bread, your safety, all hang precariously on the fickle king's favor, a capricious force that can elevate you to heights of influence one moment and cast you into oblivion the next. Imagine the king or queen, as the case may be, seated on their throne. Their expression is your constant barometer. Is their brow furrowed in thought, a moment for respectful silence? Are their eyes gleaming with amusement, an opportunity for a well-placed jest? Is their face clouded with anger, a time to disappear into the background, to become as invisible as possible? You live in a state of perpetual vigilance, constantly scanning their countenance, interpreting the slightest shift in their mood, because your life quite literally depends on it. A single ill-timed joke, a missed opportunity for levity when the monarch is bored, or even an accidental gesture that is misinterpreted, can trigger a sudden shift in their disposition towards you. The king might laugh heartily at your jest one day, rewarding you with a gold coin or a new set of garments. The very next day, a similar joke, delivered to a different mood, might be met with a stony glare, a dismissal, or a chilling order for a public humiliation. There's no consistency, no formula, just the terrifying unpredictability of absolute power. This means you must be not only witty but also deeply empathetic and psychologically astute. You have to understand the king's personality, his private anxieties, his political pressures, and his personal relationships. Is he stressed by a war? Perhaps lighthearted physical comedy? Is he dealing with a betrayal? Perhaps a satirical jab at the disloyal, but always carefully veiled. Your humor is not about you, it's about him, about serving his emotional needs. However fleeting and contradictory they may be, this constant mind reading is utterly exhausting. One common historical fact is that jesters often provided a unique emotional outlet for monarchs, allowing them to vent frustrations or hear unpopular opinions. However, a lesser-known detail is that this often placed the jester in the unenviable position of absorbing the monarch's negative emotions. You might become a verbal punching bag, a convenient target for a king's rage or frustration, precisely because you were seen as disposable and had no social standing to protect you. This made the jester's role incredibly psychologically taxing, as you were expected to endure emotional abuse with a smile. Historians still debate whether the jester's close proximity to the monarch and their ability to influence mood provided them with genuine political leverage, or if their favor was always a superficial one, easily revoked and rarely translating into lasting power or security. This academic discussion highlights the fragile nature of their apparent influence. You might find yourself acting as a confidant, privy to the monarch's deepest secrets and anxieties. In moments of vulnerability, perhaps after a political defeat or a personal tragedy, the king might turn to you, the fool, for genuine comfort or even subtle advice. This is a dangerous intimacy. You are sworn to secrecy, but knowing too much can be as perilous as knowing too little. If those secrets were ever revealed, or if the king suspected you of disloyalty, your life would be forfeit, regardless of past favor. The fear of being cast out, of losing the king's favor entirely, I think is a constant gnawing dread. To be banished from court means a return to the poverty and anonymity from which you came, often with a damaged reputation that would make it impossible to find new patronage. It's a terrifying prospect, a fall from grace that means not just destitution, but often public humiliation and a literal return to the miserable existence you thought you had escaped. Sometimes, the king's mood could shift not due to your actions, but due to external events. A lost battle, a failed harvest, a political betrayal. In such times of royal despair or fury, you, the jester, were expected to perform your best, to somehow conjure laughter from sorrow or rage. This demand for constant cheer, even in the face of profound royal distress, underscores the inherent cruelty and emotional labor of your position. You are a tool, and you must function, regardless of the circumstances. The fickle king's favor is a golden cage. It provides you with sustenance and proximity to power, but it is a cage nonetheless, constantly shifting, its bars made of laughter and dread. Your life is a perpetual tightrope walk, each step a gamble, each joke a prayer for continued survival in the unpredictable light of royal whims. You navigate the court with the cunning of a fox, your wit a finely honed blade, your existence hanging on the king's volatile moods. Yet, despite your proximity to power, despite the laughter you elicit, you are never truly accepted. Your daily reality is one of confronting the audience of disdain, facing scorn from nobles who see you as an amusing diversion at best, and a contemptible outcast at worst, always an outsider looking in. Imagine yourself at a lavish banquet, the great hall filled with the glittering elite of the kingdom, knights in polished armor, ladies in shimmering gowns, powerful dukes and duchesses whose lineages stretch back centuries. You, in your motley, are a vibrant, jarring splash of color amidst their refined elegance. Their eyes might linger on you, but rarely with genuine warmth. More often, it's a gaze of detached amusement, a polite, almost pitying acknowledgement of your strange, low station. They laugh at your jokes, but they do not laugh with you. The disdain manifests in subtle ways. A condescending smile when you approach, a brief, dismissive wave of the hand if you try to engage them in conversation outside of your performance. They might call you fool, not as a term of endearment, but as a constant reminder of your designated role, a label that strips away your humanity. You are an object, a utility, a source of entertainment, but never an equal. This constant othering is a heavy psychological burden. You might overhear their whispers, disguised as polite chatter, as they discuss you. He's clever for a fool, isn't he? Or a pity about his appearance, but useful for a laugh. These cutting remarks, designed to be just out of your direct hearing, but close enough to be sensed, are a constant reminder of your place. You are a pet, a curiosity, a novelty, but never truly part of their world, no matter how long you serve or how much laughter you provoke. A common historical fact is that jesters often came from lower social classes, sometimes even having physical deformities that set them apart. What's less commonly discussed is how this social origin, combined with their unique role, perpetuated their outsider status. Even if a jester amassed wealth or gained influence, they could rarely transcend their initial social standing. The motley was not just a costume, it was a permanent marker of their otherness, ensuring they remained an object of amusement rather than a respected individual. Think about the psychological impact of being perpetually underestimated and subtly humiliated. You are intelligent, perceptive, and often more aware of the court's true dynamics than many nobles. Yet, you must constantly play the role of the simpleton, masking your true abilities. This forced intellectual subservience, combined with the social scorn, creates a profound sense of frustration and bitterness. You see the hypocrisy, the pettiness, and the foolishness of those who look down on you, yet you cannot openly challenge them. Your only outlet is the veiled jab, the sarcastic aside, delivered in character as the fool. Historians still debate whether the disdain shown to jesters by the nobility was a genuine reflection of their low social status, or if it was a deliberate performance by the nobles themselves to reinforce the strict social hierarchy and maintain their own elevated position, even as they benefited from the jester's unique services. This academic discussion highlights the performative nature of power dynamics within the court. You might be subject to cruel pranks or demeaning tasks, ordered by bored or sadistic nobles who seek to assert their dominance. You could be forced to perform humiliating acts, to endure physical discomfort, or to suffer public ridicule, all for the amusement of the court. To refuse would be to risk the king's disfavor. So you endure, performing your humiliation with a forced smile, the bells on your cap jangling mockingly with each indignity. Even when you are praised, it often feels conditional, dependent solely on your ability to entertain. There is little genuine respect for you as a person, only for your function. This lack of authentic connection, this constant awareness of being an object rather than a subject, contributes immensely to the miserableness of your existence. You are always performing, always on display, but never truly seen for who you are. The disdain from your audience is a constant, subtle hum beneath the surface of the court. It reminds you daily of your precarious position, your ultimate expendability. You are a tool, a diversion, and when your wit dulls, or your antics cease to amuse, you know you will be cast aside. This makes every performance a desperate attempt not just to entertain, but to survive the cold, dismissive gaze of those you are forced to serve. The relentless pressure of performance, the constant fear of the king's disfavor, and the biting disdain of the nobility all contribute to an overwhelming sense of isolation. You are surrounded by people, yet profoundly alone. This is the enduring reality of solitude behind the smile, where loneliness becomes a constant companion, despite the crowds you constantly entertain. Imagine the contrast. During the day, you are the center of attention, the source of laughter, surrounded by courtiers, servants, and the royal family. Your bells jingle, your voice carries, your antics fill the grand halls. You are never truly alone in a physical sense. Yet, when the laughter dies down, when the feasts are over, and the court disperses, you return to your small, cold chamber, stripped of your motley, and the silence that descends is heavy, almost suffocating. You have no true peers in the court. The nobles consider you beneath them, a tool for amusement, not a confidant. The servants, while perhaps treating you with a grudging respect or pity, also see you as separate, marked by your unique and often dangerous profession. You cannot truly confide in anyone. To share your fears, your weariness, or your genuine thoughts would be to break character, to reveal the vulnerable human beneath the fool, and that could be fatal. You must maintain the illusion of perpetual cheerfulness, even when your heart aches with loneliness. This forced emotional suppression is incredibly taxing. You are constantly observing, processing, and performing, but you rarely get to express your own authentic emotions. If you are sad, you must feign joy. If you are angry, you must feign indifference or turn it into a harmless jest. This disconnect between your inner world and your outer persona creates a deep sense of psychological isolation. You become a master of disguise, not just physically in your motley, but emotionally, constantly hiding your true self. A common historical fact is that jesters often lived in the castle alongside the royal family and other household staff. However, a lesser-known detail is that despite this physical proximity, they were often explicitly barred from forming close personal relationships or marriages within the court. This was partly to prevent them from developing loyalties outside of the monarch, and partly due to their ambiguous social status. This institutionalized isolation further cemented their solitude, denying them the comfort of genuine familial or romantic bonds that most others enjoyed. Think about the sheer impossibility of genuine connection. You cannot form deep friendships with the nobles because of the social chasm and the constant political maneuvering. You cannot fully relax with the servants because you are ultimately part of the royal establishment they serve, and you hold a strange, often envied position. You are a bridge between worlds, yet truly belong to neither. This liminal existence is inherently isolating, fostering a deep and pervasive sense of solitude. Historians still debate whether the profound loneliness experienced by many jesters was an inevitable consequence of their unique liminal social role, or if their wit and performance actually offered a unique form of personal expression and connection that mitigated some of this isolation. This academic discussion highlights the complex interplay between constraint and creativity. The rare moments of genuine human connection might come from unexpected sources, a kind word from a sympathetic cook, a quiet glance of understanding from another marginalized servant, or perhaps, in the rarest of cases, a fleeting moment of genuine camaraderie with the monarch themselves, in moments of shared vulnerability. But these moments are fleeting, fragile, and never truly break the fundamental solitude of your existence. Even your intellect, your sharp wit, which is your greatest tool for survival, also contributes to your loneliness. You see the world with a clarity that many around you lack. You discern the hypocrisy, the vanity, the hidden motives of the powerful. This perceptive insight, combined with your inability to openly voice your true thoughts, can make you feel profoundly disconnected from the very people you are meant to amuse. You are cursed with seeing too much and being able to say too little. As the years pass, the constant performance and the pervasive loneliness begin to wear you down. The jingle of your bells, once perhaps a symbol of excitement, becomes a weary reminder of your unending role. The smile on your face becomes a habit, a practiced grimace that belies the quiet ache within. You are a figure of joy for others, but for yourself, you are a solitary soul, forever performing, forever alone, behind the mask of a smile. You felt the crushing weight of loneliness, the isolation that comes from living a life of perpetual performance. But the court jester's existence isn't merely about internal struggle, it's a constant external act, an unending performance, where every moment is a tightrope walk between genuine wit and the perilous demands of survival. Imagine waking each day with the knowledge that your job, your safety, your very life, depends on your ability to make others laugh. It's not enough to be clever occasionally. You must be consistently inventive, constantly refreshing your material. Your brain is a perpetual motion machine, sifting through observations, recalling past jokes, inventing new ones, all under the pressure of immediate demand. You are a living, breathing comedic automaton, always on, always ready. Your performance isn't confined to formal entertainments like feasts or plays. You are expected to be amusing at all times. The king might summon you in the middle of the night, bored and restless. A noble might demand a quick jape as you pass in a corridor. You learn to switch seamlessly between your private thoughts and your public persona, a mask of mirth ready to be donned at a moment's notice. This constant switching, this emotional whiplash, is incredibly draining. This relentless demand for novelty means you are always seeking inspiration. You listen to gossip, not just for intrigue, but for comedic fodder. You observe the latest fashions, the foibles of new courtiers, the changing political winds, all potential material for a satirical song, a witty poem, or a physical gag. Your mind is a sponge, constantly absorbing the world around you, always looking for the angle, the absurdity, the irony that can be transformed into laughter. It's a life lived in a state of constant creative pressure. A common historical fact is that jesters often performed a variety of acts beyond just telling jokes, including singing, playing instruments, juggling, acrobatics, and even acting in plays. What's less commonly discussed is the sheer physical and mental stamina required to maintain such a diverse repertoire, often with minimal formal training. You had to be a multi-talented entertainer, constantly practicing and perfecting your craft in secret, knowing that any perceived weakness or repetition could lead to a decline in royal favor. Think about the sheer exhaustion that sets in. Your body might ache from hours of juggling or contorting. Your voice might grow hoarse from constant singing and shouting. Your mind, however, is the most fatigued, constantly battling writer's block, searching for new angles, new ways to deliver the same old truths without offending the powerful. There's no off switch. No quiet retreat where you can simply be yourself without the expectation of performance. Historians still debate whether the Jester's constant, high-pressure performance environment fostered extraordinary creativity and adaptability in individuals, or if it primarily led to burnout and profound psychological distress due to the unending demands on their persona. This academic discussion highlights the dual impact of such a unique and demanding role. The element of danger in your performance is always present. You might engage in physical comedy that carries inherent risks, or deliver a particularly pointed jest that could backfire spectacularly. Every choice, every word, every movement is a calculated gamble. The laughter you seek is often your only protection, a shield that can vanish if your act falters or if the mood shifts. You are acutely aware of your precarious position. The king can replace you at any time. A younger, sharper wit might appear, or a new fad might capture the royal imagination. This constant threat of obsolescence fuels your desperate need to perform, to remain relevant, to prove your worth with every single jest. You are not just entertaining, you are auditioning for your life. Day after day, year after year, the unending performance becomes your reality. Your true self, buried deep beneath the layers of motley and forced smiles, struggles to breathe. You are defined by your role, consumed by the demands of laughter, forever walking the tightrope between wit and peril. A tragic figure caught in a never-ending comedic act. You have lived the miserable existence of a court jester, a life defined by forced laughter, profound isolation, and unending performance. From your unlikely calling to the relentless demands of the royal court, you've navigated a world where wit was a weapon and survival a daily gamble. Now, as our journey through your tragicomic life concludes, let's reflect on the legacy of laughter and loss, the enduring, often contradictory, impact of your role on the historical stage. Imagine yourself, now an old fool, perhaps infirm, your bells no longer jingling with the same sprightly vigor. You might be retired, given a small pension by a benevolent monarch, or perhaps simply cast aside, your wit dull, your body failing. The laughter you once commanded has faded, replaced by the quiet ache of memory. What remains of your life, a collection of sharp observations, perhaps a few cherished, private memories of genuine connection, but predominantly, a profound sense of exhaustion and a deep understanding of human nature, stripped bare of pretense. The legacy of the court jester is a paradox. On one hand, you were a figure of low status, often mocked and underestimated. You lacked true power, always subservient to the monarch. Your physical deformities, if you had them, were exploited for amusement. Your existence was precarious, contingent on the whims of the powerful. Official histories often barely mention you, or dismiss you as a mere footnote, a whimsical detail in the grand narratives of kings and queens. However, on the other hand, the jester's role was far more significant than it often appears. You were a unique social anomaly, the only one permitted to speak truth to power, to mock the absurdities of the court, and to critique the monarch himself, albeit through the veil of humor. You acted as a safety valve for courtly tensions, allowing frustrations to be aired and criticisms to be voiced in a seemingly harmless way. This made you an invaluable, if often unacknowledged, part of the social and political machinery of the court. A common historical fact is that jesters disappeared with the decline of monarchies and the rise of more modern forms of government. However, a lesser-known detail is how their unique functions were absorbed by other societal roles. The critical observer became the satirist, the political cartoonist, the stand-up comedian. The emotional confidant became the therapist or personal advisor. The court's need for unvarnished truth, albeit delivered with a punchline, never truly went away. It simply found new, less perilous forms of expression. Think about the profound psychological insight you, as a jester, gained. You were a master of human behavior, capable of reading faces, understanding motives, and discerning the hidden currents of power and emotion. This keen observation, honed by constant necessity, gave you a unique perspective on the human condition, particularly among the elite. You saw the hypocrisy behind the pomp, the fear behind the arrogance, and the loneliness even in the most powerful. This hidden wisdom is a key part of your enduring legacy. Historians still debate whether the jester's role was primarily a reflection of the medieval and Renaissance elites' need for controlled entertainment and social release, or if it represents a deeper, trans-historical human need for figures who can challenge authority and speak uncomfortable truths through humor. This academic discussion points to the enduring relevance of the jester archetype. Your legacy is also found in the enduring cultural archetype you became: the wise fool, the tragic clown, the one who sees all but is seen by none. These figures permeate literature, art, and popular culture to this day. You represent the profound contradiction of a life dedicated to laughter, often at the cost of your own happiness, a poignant symbol of the human capacity to find purpose, even in the most miserable of circumstances. The bells on your cap may have fallen silent, and the motley may have turned to dust, but the echo of your laughter and the quiet dignity of your suffering resonate through history. Your life, a blend of performance and profound personal cost, stands as a powerful reminder of the complex, often cruel ways in which societies have sought to entertain themselves, and the remarkable resilience of those who bore the burden of that laughter. Now, as the jester's bells fall silent and the echoes of courtly laughter fade into the long corridors of time, allow yourself to drift away from the castle walls and the complex characters within them. Imagine the quiet of a moonlit medieval landscape, the gentle rustle of leaves, the distant hoot of an owl, all settling into a profound stillness. Let the image of the jester, with his knowing eyes and his ever-present smile, soften and become a peaceful, historical memory. The demands of performance, the weight of hidden truths, they all dissipate with the night. Breathe deeply, letting go of any lingering echoes, and allow your mind to find its own calm, unburdened by the ancient demands of entertainment. The stage is empty, the audience is gone, and only peace remains.